Hey there, welcome to my channel. My name is Linda. Got a lot of fun fall projects in store for you today. Thank you to Cricut for sponsoring this video. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started. Today we're going to be working on DIY farmhouse fall crafts. So let's get started with project number 1. We're going to make a cute rectangular fall pillow. So we're going to first start off, this is the design we're going to make. I'm using Cricut Design Space, of course, on my iPad. We're just going to move that out of the way. I'm going to come down in here to the bottom left. I want to make a workable area here, so I'm clicking on the Shapes button and the square. In the lower left corner here is a little lock button. I'm going to click on that to unlock it so that I can make this shape into a rectangle. And make it the size I want to be able to fit my design inside of it. And I want to be able to see the grid below it. It's just a temporary workspace. We'll delete it later. So in order to see the grid below it, because I need to be able to see my letters, you can either come in and change the color. In either case, you're going to come in here and click on Edit, and into the far left, click on this Cut button. And up here, I'm going to click on the word Draw. Or you can just change the color with all those colors down below. I'm going to hit Apply, and that way I can see the grid down below, and then I can see my quote that I'll put inside of it. So I'm going to find my font in Cricut Fonts, and the first one I'm going to use here is called Close to My Heart Art Philosophy. I'm going to type in the word Everyday. And then I'm going to add a little period, of course, and we're going to set that aside. I'm going to come back into my text button again, and I'm going to find the font Hey Marilyn. Click on that, and then I'm going to type in the word Thankful. Perfect. And then I'm going to come down here into Actions and click on the word Ungroup, so that some of my letters I want to elongate them so they're long like the T. And then I want to move all my letters together so that they are hooked together and make one nice word instead of just having spaces in between each letter, of course. And then once I get those letters into the position that I want and elongated, how I want it to look, I'll draw a box around it and come here and attach it. Okay? Put it inside my working area. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to, of course, make sure my button is unlocked here so that I can make my word the exact shape and stuff that I want. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to duplicate it. And I duplicate it because once I hit the weld button to weld these cursive letters together so they cut as one unit, it kind of takes away what font I used for some reason on my iPad. So if I want to come later and use this for another project, I don't remember what font I used if I want to add more words to it. So I always kind of duplicate it. So once I get that duplicated, I will put that aside and then go back to the word I'm going to use. And then hit the word weld. Now, if you hit it weld and you want to immediately go back and do something to it, if you hit the undo button at the bottom of the screen, it'll undo the weld and then you can mess with it again and re-weld it. So there's lots of options here to work with it, but I usually will make that duplicate in case I mess up or I want to see the font later or something like that. Then I'm going to come into the word Everyday button. There's two ways to do this. So I'm coming down to the Edit button and I'm hitting the spacing there so that I can space my letters together, hit letter spacing, and it will space them a little bit, but it doesn't space the letters evenly. So then I usually come back in under the Actions button, I ungroup it, and then I space it evenly. So most of the time I will just skip the Edit button and the letter spacing and just go for the Actions button, ungroup it, space my letters by hand, draw a box around it, hit the Attach button, and then bring it into position that I want and the size I want. Once I get everything into position, I'm going to come and I'm going to highlight that working box we made first and just delete it. We no longer need it. Now I'm going to draw a new box around our whole quote, come down to the Actions button, and I'm going to attach it. and it's ready to go. We'll be using smart vinyl today, so I'm going to click on without a mat. You don't need a mat using smart vinyl. To the left side, we're going to make this an iron-on, so I'm going to make sure I click where it says mirror image. This screen will pop up. It will again tell you to mirror your image. Here's the smart iron-on vinyl. It'll tell you shiny side down, so you're going to feed that into your machine. You're going to hit that feed button, and then the machine will move your vinyl in and out, making sure you have enough material. And then your little go button will flash, and you're going to push that button, and then of course your machine will cut out your image mirrored and ready to go. Once that's done, you'll unfeed it, and then we're going to weed it. So basically weeding, you're just going to pull off all the material that you do not want to put onto your project. So the outer perimeter, insides of letters, all that sort of stuff. Once that's done, I'm going to put it aside. We're going to go to work on our pillow. So I have 2 pieces of muslin fabric here. It's 22 inches wide and 12 inches tall. And I have 1 piece of just design fabric here. Again, it's 12 inches tall and about 3.5 inches wide. I'm going to use a few of these buttons from Walmart, or you could use these from Dollar Tree and just paint them. And so I've got 3 here. I'm going to use the side that's not printed and a little bit of twine as well. You can use Fabri-Tac for this project, which I will use for the buttons, but to put the pillow together, or a hot glue gun, or I'm going to take it to the sewing machine, of course. Now I've distressed around this 1 piece of fabric. We'll do it around the pillow later, but basically I just pulled along the pieces of the fabric, the extra threads, to fray them out. So you can glue around the perimeter with the Beacon Fabri-Tac glue, or around the perimeter with your hot glue gun. Like I said, I'll take mine to the sewing machine, and I'm just going to sew the strip onto 1 piece of the fabric. Perfect. That's set to go. You can see what that looks like here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and iron on our piece here. I'm going to get it in position I want, and I've got the little mini heat tool, Cricut mini heat tool, so it takes a little bit longer than the big one. So I've got to get the fabric warm underneath, lay my piece on top with a piece of fabric on top of that, and I hold the mini tool in place each spot for about 20 seconds, and then I wiggle it around for about 20 seconds. But if you have like the large heat press, 30 seconds and the thing is done. But I'm doing it the longer way with the mini heat tool. But once it's done and cooled, I'll pull off the plastic piece, and then I'm going to pull on the excess fabric around the edges of the both pillow pieces and fray that just like I did the little strip all the way around. And then we'll turn that piece over and we'll lay our plain piece on the back, and we're going to pin it together. Now you can again use your Beacon Fabri-Tac or your hot glue gun. You're going to go all the way around except 1 section here about 5 inches. Leave open. Do not glue that. We need that for stuffing. I will take mine to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew all the way around the perimeters, leaving that 1 little about 5-inch section open. And then, like I said, we'll go ahead and get that all stuffed. And I just use pillow stuffing. And then once that's done, of course, you want to close that area with your Fabri-Tac or your glue gun, or again with sewing machine if you're a sewer. Nice and easy, really cute. Now we're going to go ahead and mess with our buttons here. So I've got 3 buttons here, and I've got some scrapbooking ink. Now you could take a little bit of paint and water it down if you want, and just kind of paint around the edges. I'm just using the scrapbooking ink to kind of distress around the edges, just so it kind of gives dimension between the pillow and the button. And on 2 of the buttons, I'm doing some twine through it. And then on the printed side, of course, I will just tie it into a knot. And then one of the buttons, I left it really long, and what I will do is make a long bow on the unprinted side. So I hope that makes sense. And here comes the one longer. I'm feeding it through my button, and we're going to make a long bow here, cute, with long little tails hanging down. And then we're going to go ahead and just use Beacon Fabri-Tac glue, and I kind of measure where I want them. I'm going to glue those buttons into place, and then once that's done, this project is complete. So let's move on to project number 2. For this project, we're going to make this cute oversized fall sign using 2 different colors of vinyl. And so we're going to be in Cricut Design space. Once again on my iPad, I'm going to come in under the Cricut fonts and look for Lana Jane. I'm going to type in the word autumn. And then I'm going to come back in and I'm going to look for Cricut font DTC Bikini Babe. I want a couple more cursive words, so I'm going to type in the word pumpkin and the word falling. You could use all printed words if you want except for the word autumn, but I thought this would be fun to have some more cursive throughout the sign. Then I'm going to type in the font Arab Brushstrokes Std Regular, and I'm going to type in all of my remaining print in capital letters. Once I get that where I want it, since there's a lot of words here, I am going to come in under the edit button and letter spacing and kind of start the spacing, and then I will come in under the actions button, ungroup it, and then go in line by line and move my letters a little more. Doing this because there are so many words, it kind of helped a little bit, and I would have a little bit less spacing to do on my own. Once I get each line of words into position, I of course will draw a box around it and hit attach under the actions button. And 2 of my lines, like leaves and everything, that's where I'm going to add the cursive words. So I'm coming in here under the actions button, I am ungrouping my cursive words and I'm moving my letters together. Once I get them into position, I'll draw a box around them, I will attach them, and then I will weld them so they come cut out as one unit. Of course, I'll do that on all 3 of my cursive words. Now my autumn word, I want to turn vertical, so I'm turning that vertical to the size I want. And in my other 2 cursive words, I'm going to just kind of move all my words out of the way and enlarge my cursive words. I'm going to enlarge my printed words to the size I want them, and then I will of course add my falling and pumpkin words to my other printed words. Like I said earlier, it's all confusing, but here it is, pumpkin everything. And then I'll line my words the right side. I'm going to align them even along the right side. Get that into position, and then I'll make my way down to leaves and add my cursive word falling with it. Perfect, so I'll space that just like that. And then once I get this side how I want it, I'll draw a box around it and attach it and move it into position I want it. Kind of turn the hello word vertical, move it where I want it. And now I like where everything's at, and I don't want to have to sit and measure on my sign. So I'm going to come down and hit the shapes button and click on the square. I'm going to unlock the shape so that I can make it into a really skinny rectangular line. And I'm going to use these as guidelines when I go to put this on my sign since it's large. I'm going to line this up with the bottom of that right hand side and just drag it across into front of the autumn. And I'm going to line one more at the top of that side, line it up to the autumn word, draw a box around it, and attach. Now my other words I have already printed on black. So we're going to do the same thing here. I'm using orange smart vinyl here. I've got it on here. I'm going to find smart vinyl, click on it, and then of course follow the directions. Here's my smart vinyl using permanent vinyl. It's the same for the black. Feed it into my machine as the instructions will tell me to do. It'll guide through and make sure I have enough material here, and then the go button will flash and I click that and it will cut out my image or my words. And I did that again for the orange and the black. And then I will hit the unfeed button. So let's go to work on our sign here. Now this sign is 24 inches long and 16 inches tall. I've got 4 pieces of wood here. They're 1 inch wide, got them from Home Depot. 2 are cut at 13 7/8 and 2 are cut at 24 inches. And I'm going to take my main sign here, and I've got like 3 different color oranges here to get the color I wanted. And what I'm going to do is paint the orange first and then go over the top and paint it with Dixie Belle drop cloth, chalk paint. I was a little scared to do orange underneath and the drop cloth on top because I knew when I would go to sand it that orange would shine through, but I went through with it and I actually like how it turned out. because I'm like, if you sand too much in Distress and too much orange shows through, I might not like it. Anyway, turned out good. And then my boards here, I'm just using that Waverly wax, watered it down, and I'm just coming through a little bit of water in there so it makes a nice dark shade, painting it on, and then wiping off the excess. And I'll do that to all 4 of my boards. So here I am letting those dry, and I'm coming back and painting. I think I did 3 coats of the drop cloth over the top of my orange color. And then I'll take it outside with my electric sander and I will distress it. Here's what it turned out like. I really like it because all the knots in the wood show through and everything. I'm going to be using wood glue to attach my pieces here. I've already done the 2 long pieces, so I put the wood glue on there and I'm just spreading it out with a foam brush, of course. And then I'll lay it into position and I'll clamp it down. And I do that for all 4 sides. And I let it clamp for a couple of hours before I go in and put the vinyl on. Same thing on the other side here, just showing you a little bit, of course, clamping it down. While that, once that's all done, we're going to go in and you can see my autumn word here. I've got my little marker lines on there. I've used my little squeegee tool, as I like to call it, to smooth it down, to transfer it to my Cricut tape here. And then I'm going to transfer it onto the long way vertical on my sign, rubbing it down with my Cricut tool, and then pull up my transfer tape. Then I'm going to do the same thing with my words. Got those rubbed down onto the transfer tape, and here I am lining them up again with my little lines so I know exactly where I want that to fit next to my autumn word. I will smooth that down on there and use my Cricut brayer tool to get that down. I'll line up my hello word next to that guideline. Here's my brayer tool, laying it all down, and I will peel up the transfer tape on the hello word, and I can go ahead now and peel up those little guidelines. I don't need them anymore. And then I will peel up the transfer tape on the rest of my words. And then once I peel up this transfer tape, this project is complete. Let's move on to project number 3. For this project, we're going to be making this cute wood pumpkin. So we're going to start out again in Cricut Design Space on my iPad. We're going to look for the Cricut fonts Hey Marilyn, and I'm going to type in the word pumpkin. And I'll have all the fonts listed for the projects in the description box. I'm going to look up the font DTC Brown Sugar, and I'm going to type in the word sweet and kisses. I'm going to work on the pumpkin word and of course hit the actions button, ungroup, move my letters together, attach them, and weld them. For the print words, again, the actions button, I'm going to ungroup them. I'm going to move my letters to the position that I want for each word, draw a box around each word, and then attach them. You don't need to weld when you're working with individual letters like this, only on cursive words. Size them the way I want them. And then we'll go ahead again using Smart Vinyl. So I'm going to hit Make It. And the tab will pop up that says with or without a mat. So we're without a mat again because of Smart Vinyl. So I'll put these in the position I want. On my Smart Vinyl, I will click on the Smart Vinyl Permanent. And then go to my machine. The little feed button will flash. And I'm using my roll of vinyl in the Cricut roll holder, which is very nice. Once it decides it's got enough vinyl, hit the cut button, and then I can just slide that little cutting tool in my roll holder and undo my vinyl. Nice and easy. I love it. Cut, and it's a nice perfect cut for the next time I use that vinyl. So for this project, I'm going to use this pre-made sign from Hobby Lobby. It was $5.99. I got it half off. It's about a 10 by 10 inch size. And basically I'm just going to take my jigsaw and I'm going to round all 4 edges. Now you don't have to do that. You could leave your pumpkin square. I almost did. But I'm going to go ahead and turn this vertical. And then I've got 2 pieces of scrap wood here I'm going to use for stem, and I'll cut them down to the same size if I want, and we'll, you know, deal with that later. And if you want this kind of slat wood look, you could use paint sticks here, cut them down to about 10 inches. You'll need about 8 of them. And then on, you know, 2 of the paint sticks that you have left over, you could use to brace the back with, just like this, and wood glue them on the back. Or you could use one of these from Dollar Tree. It's all done for you in a cute little pumpkin shape. So I'm also going to be using 3 Jenga blocks. These are from an actual Jenga game. I got a garage sale, a wood heart from Dollar Tree, and this is just a spare sign I have I'm going to use. You could, and I'm also going to use a wood slice. I pick up from wood slices from Hobby Lobby, or you could use one of these from Dollar Tree, or just cut up a Dollar Tree sign. And so what I'm doing here is, again, just showing you using my jigsaw to round off the edges. And again, using that word again, you could just leave it square, or you could just sand it. If you have like electric sander, you could kind of round the edges with an electric sander. And I'm just going along the side too, and just kind of cutting in a little bit on the side, just to kind of give it a little bit of a funky shape, just so it's not perfectly, you know, rounded pumpkin, I guess. And then I'm coming in with my electric sander here, and I'm sanding around all the edges and even in between the slats as best possible, just to give it a nice distressed farmhouse look. Now I've got my stem pieces here cut down to 4 inches, and I'm using Dollar Tree wood glue here, and I'm just going to add a little bit of that, of course, and then I will clamp these 2 pieces together. And while that's sitting, we'll go to work on painting our pumpkin. Here they are clamped. I'm using Dixie Belle chalk paint in the color terracotta here, and I'll paint a couple of coats, and I sand it off camera to distress it all. Now this next clue here, I am sorry I lost my footage, but basically the wood slice, the sign, and the heart, I traced it onto the color scrapbook paper I wanted, and I traced it about a 1/4 inch short all the way around so the perimeters would show. I also used that Waverly wax watered down again like I did on project number 2, and I painted the stem. So I apologize, and then but I'm telling you anyway, at least. And then all my papers that I cut out, I sewed around them using my sewing machine to add that little bit of texture. So here I am. I've got my pieces ready. You can see the sewing on it. I'm using the open end of my scissor blades, and I'm scraping along the edges to add a little bit of texture. Here's the dot pattern I chose for the heart. And then I chose kind of this wood grain looking paper for my sign. I also painted the Jenga blocks, and I sanded those as well, and you can see my pumpkin all sanded and distressed. I'm using Beacon Fabri-Tac glue. I'm going to glue down my paper onto one side of my sign. You can see a little bit of the edges showing. I'll glue the paper to the back of the heart for now. I'll leave the front paper. We're going to add our Cricut material to that here in just a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and use Beacon Fabri-Tac glue, and I'm going to glue it right at the top of that, you know, back piece there on the back of the pumpkin, and I'll let that sit for a while. So we're going to go to work on our sign with our Cricut material. Remember, it's all cut out, so now we're just pulling it up and we're weeding all the stuff that we don't want to put down onto our sign, so the extra material around the perimeter of the word and then the insides of any letters that we want pulled out. Perfect. And we'll transfer paper over the top. We'll rub that on so that the vinyl will stick to that transfer paper. And then we'll pull that transfer paper up. The vinyl should be stuck to it, and that allows us to transfer that word to our project. We'll lay it down onto our project here, and then we will squeegee it on, and then we'll pull up the transfer paper, and that word is now stuck. Again, Cricut Permanent Smart Vinyl in black. We're doing the same thing on the word, for the word kisses, onto our heart shape. The one that we didn't glue down yet, onto our heart-shaped paper there. Sometimes the glue kind of interferes if you glue the paper down first and the glue's still a little wet and you try to put your vinyl word on top, it makes it a little hard for some reason. So I found that if I put the vinyl word on first and then glue the paper down, it works better. And then we're doing the same thing for the circle on our wood slice. We're getting that down first, and then we'll go ahead and glue that on top of the wood slice. If your glue's dry, it'll work fine, but I get impatient and try to put the vinyl word down first while the glue's still wet, and then it kind of messes it up. So we're using some pieces here. This is burlap leaves from Dollar Tree. I've already got them cut. And then I've got, this is just something I got at Goodwill. It's got pip berries and stuff on it, so I cut some pumpkins and leaves and pip berries off of it. I've got this ribbon from Dollar Tree. I cut a piece of that. I've got some wire rope here from Dollar Tree, and then I've got this plaid orange and green ribbon, and what I've done is cut just a big long strip, and I'm pulling off the edges to fray it, and I will tie that into a bow off camera. And then I've got some wood leaves here. They come on a pick. I get them at Joann's when it, you know, goes like half price. And then I've got some more wire here that I curled up on a big large paintbrush handle, and then I've got some sisal here. So we're going to go ahead and glue our leaves down first. That pumpkin sign isn't glued down, it's just laying there. Glue the leaves down first, and then glue down pip berries. And I know Dollar Tree has bunches of pip berries, and they have those, you know, bags of little pumpkins on picks. You know, you get like 10 to a bag. You can certainly use those to put on here. Whatever you've got, leaves, you know, from foliage from Dollar Tree will work. Any kind of ribbon you like. But I'm just kind of bunching up this. I love this ribbon from Dollar Tree because I love the burlap of it. And then I am gluing down the wire, the curly wire down. Yes, just using Beacon Fabri-Tac glue, and gluing down my little pumpkins. And then gluing down some, you know, more pumpkins on the other side from that whole thing I bought at Goodwill. Adding some more glue there and kind of putting the sisal down. And then I'm going to glue down my wired rope. However you want to lay it all down. And now here's my bow already done. I'm going to glue it on top to kind of hide all the rough edges and bring it all together. And I'm going to glue in one of those wood leaves. Now you could use wood leaves from Dollar Tree. They got some cute ones in this year. And I'm going to glue down my wood slice kind of at the bottom of the bow there. And then I'm going to glue my sign on, and I'm leaving spaces open so if you flip it over on the back you won't see the glue through the slats of the pumpkin there. So of course our whole thing will say Sweet Pumpkin Kisses, and I'm gluing the sign kind of slanted. And at this time while all that's kind of setting up, I'm going to glue down some Jenga blocks, and I end up actually using 4 pieces here because it just needed a little bit more stability. So I glue 2 together and lay it down, and then 1 on top to add a little bit of just kind of strength to those 2 that I glued at the bottom. And here it is where I had to glue 1 more just to kind of elongate it so that it stands up a little bit better. And then we'll go ahead, I add cardboard to the back of the heart so that we'll take up the space where it sits on the pumpkin sign and then onto the pumpkin. And then once I glue that down, this project is complete. So I hope you enjoyed all the projects that I came up with today. Again, thank you to Cricut for sponsoring this video. I love how each one of them came out, and I really do think they are easy to recreate. If you like this video and you want to see more of what I come up with for future inspiration and you're not yet subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit that red subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on a single video from me. Please give this video a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below, you know what I'm going to say, and tell me which project was your favorite. Before I go, I'm going to leave you with one final thought. It doesn't matter your start in life, and your history does not proclaim your destiny. God uses you for His glory. You may not think you have room for anything more for God, or you're too old, or you're fearful, or you're not strong enough. But God doesn't think so. He doesn't believe so. Fear is the greatest killer of purpose and destiny. Your response should be, I am a servant of the Lord. Let it be so. It's not you. It's God in you. I thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.